ads and these mailers and pay for all of these systems to be in place.
Yeah.
And you know it, you've burned through whatever money you had saved up as like a reserve. Stay relevant. So whatever is trending, I will post on Facebook was never like my favorite, but I post every single day on there. I think it was the fear of failing because I am a perfectionist and I don't like.
Welcome to another episode of the Realist Conversations podcast, where we have the cream of the crop, the best and the brightest real estate agents in the Houston area. And today we have Ashley Marquez, who is not necessarily from the Houston area. You do serve clients there, right? Or your family's there?
Mostly like South Houston, though.
South Houston, okay, but mainly we have the Galveston Queen here. Ashley, welcome to the Realist Conversations podcast. I am so happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here.
Yay. Okay, so I knew I had to have you on, obviously, because you are one of our VIP clients, and secondly, because you're just a rock star, and I found you on social media.
Yes.
I reached out to you. That has been one of our strategic tactics, and it worked. So that is called organic marketing for you. Not liked, commented, posted some stuff, but
Of course.
And now, thankfully, we have built a relationship around that. Besides that, I don't know your story. We've known each other for like a year and a half already. We've been doing business together, but I don't know your story. So take me back, and let me know a little bit about you, Ashley. Where did you get started, or even before that? Tell me about.
I'm like, where do I begin? So I grew up with a grandfather who was very real estate investor mindset. He did like big commercial buildings or 40-door apartment complexes and stuff like that. Not necessarily, he had a few residential deals, but like for the most part, it was like larger multifamilies. So I grew up around that and I had no interest in it whatsoever, but I was exposed to it. And, you know, he kind of like almost like beat it into us. Like, you have to invest in real estate. You have to invest. And you know what? He lost his job. It was like that was his side gig, right? And so he was like, you have to invest because it's always good to have that passive income.
Yeah.
And he ended up losing. He got laid off. He worked at the plants and he got laid off. And that is how they lived, was off of that, you know, passive income that he had.
Amazing.
And so it really like saved him and my grandma, right? And so kind of seeing that, it really like resonated, I guess. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start doing that too. And he was like really kind of pushing me. He's like, I think that you would be a great real estate agent. And I was like, okay, you know, sure. And I think I was like maybe 18, 19, fresh out of high school. And at that time I was working at a bank. So I was a teller at a bank and I was like, I like my job. You know, I used to talk to people every day. You know, I wasn't stuck in an office. That was really nice. I was like, there are a million real estate agents. I'm not going to try to tap into that at that time. I just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was every couple of years, he was like, hey, I still really think that, you know, you would be good at it. And I was like, yeah, you know, kind of blew it off.
Yeah.
And so I was in banking for 5-6 years. Wow. And I kind of worked my way up. I was a banker, I was a teller, then a banker, and then I became a lending assistant. And I was sitting in an office, staring at a freeway and interacting with people over the phone and not face to face. And I didn't like it.
That's exactly what you didn't want to do, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And so kind of, I was like, oh, I don't like this. And so, you know, the gears were turning and he kind of said it again and I still put it off, mind you. Okay. Yeah. I think it was more so hindsight. I look back and I'm like, I think it was the fear of failing because I am a perfectionist and I don't like failing.
What?
Yeah, weird, right? So I think that that's probably what held me back from even trying. But, you know, things happen for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that. And so timing is everything. So maybe it wasn't right at that time in my life. But actually lost my job at the bank. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I was also, I have a portrait photography business that I really have no time for anymore. I still do it for like my old clients.
That is so cool. So you shoot portrait photos,
I
or
do.
you were
Yeah.
doing?
I
I
know.
love
I
that.
know,
That is
weird,
so
right? I try
cool.
not to like advertise it because I really don't have time. But I have
Yeah.
repeat clients that have been coming to me doing their family portraits on the beach for like the last 6 years.
No way, Ashley. I did
I
not know.
know.
Is that how
Little fun
you
fact.
have amazing photos always? Do you do them yourselves or?
I actually work with my photographer friend, and so I take
Oh,
her photos, she takes
yeah.
mine, so we
I
kind of help each
love
other
it.
out there. Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
So
so good.
I
So
know. I love
good.
it. So I was doing that and I was like kind of an interim, like, okay, well, I'm just going to do this full time. And so
Mhm.
my photography business really took off. I was doing a ton of beach photos and stuff, but it still was like, you still have a cap,
Yeah.
right? It's like, okay, this isn't where I want to be in life. Like, this is more so fun,
Yeah.
but I need something more that's going to like push me.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of other little things for a couple years.
Mhm.
And my grandpa really kind of like, I think his voice was just in the back of my mind like the
Yeah.
whole time, you know?
Oh.
And then with my now husband, he was my boyfriend at the time. And I had been talking about it and he was like, oh my goodness. If you meant like, I'm not going to take no for an answer.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to sign you up for the classes. You're going to just do it. And I was like, okay.
That's
And he
amazing.
actually, I was like, I'll never forget. I think it was like $1,000 to
Yeah.
take the classes. And
Mhm.
at the time I was like, well, like, that's a lot of money to
Yeah.
not know if it's going to work
Yeah.
and then to take off from work and my jobs to go take these classes. And then,
Mhm.
took $1,000
Oh my
immediately,
goodness.
mind you.
Yeah.
In the middle of this conversation, he walked in his room, he grabbed $1,000
Oh.
out of his safe and
Yeah.
he threw it at me,
Oh.
not in a loving way. And he's like, go. Like, I'm not going to take, this is my investment in
Oh
you.
my
And I was like, okay. I was like,
goodness.
well, no. And then me being me, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to take your money. Like,
Yeah.
no, absolutely not. And he would not take no for an answer. And so I
I
said, you know what?
love
Okay, fine.
that.
I will take that investment. And I think I looked at it like a challenge. I was like,
Mhm.
okay. And then I said, all right, my first commission check, I'm paying you back. Like, I was like, I'm going to take this as a challenge. And so I kind of like set a goal for myself
Yeah.
to work towards. And I was like, all right, I've got to pay those classes off,
Yeah.
And
And
so
how was it? I'm so sorry to
no.
interrupt. How was it going through those classes? Like, was it easy for you? Were you passionate about it? Like, you were decided, like, this is
Yes.
what I'm going to do? Or was it like,
So when I make my mind up to do something,
mhm.
I give it 110%.
Okay, I
And so
love it.
I think for me, I was like, this is what I did. And some
Mhm.
people, it takes them months, or even
Yeah.
I've known people that take the classes over the course of a year.
Mhm.
I was like, I'm just going to knock them out. And I finished in 6 weeks. I literally just took
Wow.
them back to back to back
Oh
to
my
back and
goodness.
tested. And like, I was like, I'm just done. I wanted to like just overload all the information, absorb
Yeah.
it, and then take. And so I think I don't want to say they were easy, but
Mhm.
because I was so with it and I was
Mhm.
determined, I
Yeah.
was absorbing everything a little bit
I love
better,
it.
I guess.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so being in those classes, I was like, oh, this is interesting. I like this.
Mm.
And I was like, I think I'm going to like this. Okay.
Mhm.
My grandpa was right. I missed 10 years of real estate because,
Oh,
not really,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to jump full force into it. And so
Wow.
long story short,
That's
that's kind of my
amazing.
husband, boyfriend at the time gave me that final push. He
Oh,
was like,
thank
I am
you.
done hearing about this. You're going to do it. And
That's
I was like, okay, you're right.
crazy.
I'm going to do
Thank
it.
you to, what is it,
Sharky.
Captain Sharky?
Yes.
Thank you, Captain Sharky.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I do
That
give
is
him most of the
awesome.
credit for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing.
He
And
says it's the best investment he made. So,
yes. And how has it been from there? Around what year was that?
So this is 4.5 years. So yeah,
Okay,
that was
wow.
2018. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so how has your journey been from 2018 to now? Walk me through that.
So got into real estate right before like all the craziness, which I'm
Yes.
very grateful for because
Mhm.
I had a good amount of time of just learning before it was, multiple offers and all this. Like, so I was able to absorb, learn. I joined a team, and honestly, that was the best thing that I could have done. And it does matter what team you're on, but
Mhm.
I interviewed a lot of brokers, and I just felt like I was where I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And God really just like aligned that for me.
Yeah.
And I love her so much. I still talk to her. We had lunch like
Oh.
a few weeks ago. And she was the best mentor that I had. And so
Wow.
I literally just sat there. I worked 7 days a week. I sat in that office and I listened and I learned and I asked questions when I didn't
Mhm.
know. I went on listing appointments, I went on buyer appointments and just listened. And
Yeah.
so that was, I think, I attribute most of that to my success because,
Yeah.
but you have to want it, you know? And
Mhm.
so just sitting there and making the time and like, even though I wasn't making any money, it was like, it was an investment in my future, you
Yeah.
know? And so I
Wow.
was grinding out, 80-hour weeks sometimes because I was at the office all day and then I would go do photo shoots.
Oh
And
my
sometimes I would do
goodness.
sunrise photo shoots and
Yeah.
sunset photo shoots because I was like, I got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And I'm too, I was bartending. I hate saying that,
Oh
but it
my
is what it
goodness.
was.
Yeah.
That's a part of my life. And I was like,
Mhm.
I have to pay bills and I have to make this happen. And real estate honestly is expensive
Yeah.
to, I mean, you to do it right
Mhm.
and to have the content and the marketing and all of that stuff, like you have to invest a
Mhm.
lot into it. And so I was doing all these other things to like be able to pay those bills
Yeah.
until
Okay.
I had commission coming in. So
Yes. So let me pivot into a little bit into that if you're okay with it.
yeah,
I know realtors are really anxious for that first listing
yeah,
or for any listing. Sometimes they market to everybody just because they really want it. But then whenever they have it, maybe they don't have the funds. Tell me what it takes to market a listing or to work with a seller.
right. So I don't, again, like to do things halfway.
Hmm.
And I know a lot of agents do take on listings just because they're like eager, right? Just
Yeah.
kind of like you mentioned. There is a huge difference, and you're really not doing the seller any justice in a way. Like if you're taking cell phone pictures and you're not doing the full marketing content, so
Hmm.
video content and the great photography like what you guys offer and for especially if the property is not vacant or
Hmm.
easily accessible, those are so important because then people, if they can't get in, at least they feel like they're there and they can get a feel in the lay of the house without actually requesting an
Oh
appointment,
wow.
you know?
Yeah.
And so those are things that are very important, but they are costly. Like
Yeah.
you have to invest in that to be able to make your seller the most that they possibly can make. And so I think that one thing also kind of like to go back to being on a
Hmm.
team, a lot of times, like if you're on a team, they're going to help support you in that. And yes, people don't want to talk about it, but the splits are less, right? But that's what
Hmm.
you're paying for. And it is a learning period until you get to where you can be on your own,
Yeah.
you know? And so instead of looking at the numbers, it's like, what can I learn? Like you look at it like an investment. Even though it's the splits, you're splitting with a team, they may be taking care of those listing photos and the marketing materials and stuff
Hmm.
for you. And that in turn is going to help you sell the property faster, make your seller happy. You're going to get great reviews. And then hopefully you get a referral out of that,
Yeah.
right? And so then that's how your business starts. You make that person happy and
Hmm.
then it continues and continues, right?
Wow, I love that. I love that. Yeah, that is super true. About just investing into I like what you said about investing into the seller. Like they are trusting you with
Right. Yeah.
the biggest, maybe the biggest
Yes.
asset
Yep.
of their lives. What else is something that you do to help the sellers feel comfortable or inform them? Tell me how that experience is with the sellers.
Sure. So I like to I like to communicate as much as possible. And I think that
Hmm.
that is probably the number one most important thing that you can do. I mean, marketing and everything is very important as well.
Hmm.
But communicating, especially if you have a seller that hasn't sold before or they're new to it and there's a lot of questions. So I have a whole process and honestly I have streamlined the whole thing. So I have templates and so you just plug in, you find something that works for you and it's like,
Hmm.
I'm going to take this, I'm going to plug it in. And it's educating them on the process first. And
Yeah.
that is face to face. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a Zoom call if they don't live, locally. Just educating and then saying, okay, we're going to schedule the photographer and this is where they're going to be there. And then we're going to do the XYZ and
Yeah.
this is the marketing. And then once I get those photos, those great photos that you guys do for us, I send them over to them for approval. And so they're
Hmm.
always in the loop. And it's like, okay, this is what's going to go out. And this is the description, take a look at it. Do you want to change anything?
Yeah.
I want you guys completely happy and comfortable with it.
Hmm.
And I think that sellers love that, right? Nobody
Hmm.
wants to be left in the dark or feel like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And not that I'm perfect. There are crazy weeks and stuff that I'm like, oh my gosh, this week got away from me and
Yeah.
I've got to touch base. And so I try to do like check-ins though
Oh, I
with all the
love
sellers
that.
where it's like,
Yeah.
hey, I know it's been kind of quiet. The market's shifted. It's a little different right now. We're not getting a whole lot of showings, but like, this is what we're doing. And this is the email blast that went out. And
Yeah.
this is what, I posted on social media. And these
Yeah.
are the outlets that we're covering to get your listing out there.
I
So
love it. You're still working it. Even when there's ups or downs, you're
yes,
still
yeah,
working it
of
somehow.
course.
I love that. I love that. And so I know you are working more with investors and maybe do you work with people that are looking to upsize or downsize? Tell me about those experiences, or do you have a crazy story from last year? Give me something.
I don't know if I want to talk about that crazy story. You have one, my goodness. So Galveston is a great market. I love it because it is second homes, investment properties for the most part. Now we have a lot of residents too, don't get me wrong, but it attracts people, especially even from like Houston, that want just a weekend house, right? And so it's not their primary residence, but so I work a lot with people that are looking for like a little getaway, but can also produce passive income for them as well, or even pay for itself.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people are like, I want to be able to go to the beach and don't want to have to pay a mortgage. Well, you can rent it when you're not there, right?
Yeah.
And so work a lot with people that do that. And then also like say maybe upsizing too, because there's a lot of really, really cute little bungalows in town that make great little weekend houses. But if you are living there full time, then that's not ideal necessarily for a full time resident. So
Okay. Those are more for like short term
or long term rentals, and just weekend homes, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to worry about all your stuff being there. You just bring a bag or you have a couple of clothes there, and it's good for the weekend.
We've
But
seen some of those videos and photos that Raul has shot. They're so cute,
they
and it's
are.
sometimes they're so conveniently close to the
Yes.
beach
Walking
or
distance.
close to other areas that are to live in or not live in, but like bound for the weekend. So
For sure.
I love those little bungalows. They're super cute.
Me too.
I love it. Okay, Mia, tell me something that favorite or your most important past failure that has led to success now.
That one's so tough, I feel like. I would say it was very humbling. I know I've said it a couple of times, but being a perfectionist, and so determined to do everything right all the time. I guess it's a good quality. I don't know. Probably not though. It's like it could go either way. It's when I lost my job at the bank, I felt like a complete failure. And I think that, without getting into that, I was partly at fault for what happens. And so, that's something to like admit that and to like come to terms with it. I think once I coped with that and I was like, you're not perfect, Ashley. Like nobody's perfect. You're human. People make mistakes.
Yeah.
But again, I really think like everything happens for a reason. And I took that and I was like, all right, God has something bigger for me, right?
Yeah.
Like I have something else that I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
This wasn't it. That and then almost like channeling it to do something else. And I was like, I want to be at a place where I don't work for someone else.
Yeah.
And we do in a sense working at a brokerage, but we're independent, right? And so it's so nice being able to hustle and work as much as I want or as little as I want, which is always a lot, like I said. But it's like one of those things like you can push yourself and it's like, okay, now I have a higher goal. Okay, now this year I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And so it's really great. And I think taking that and just changing and shifting my mindset was like very pivotal for me in that. And so I think it was like almost like a light switch that I flipped in that moment. Wow. And it's helped kind of like change my mindset going forward. So
yeah, for sure. I love that. Using those past things to see them to help you, push you forward, make you a better person.
Yeah, use it as fuel, essentially.
Yes. Okay, so what is something from your past that you can laugh about today?
Well, I did say that I bartended, so nothing at all against bartenders whatsoever. I just never thought I was going to be in that position.
Yeah.
And, again, backstory, I grew up in church. My mom about killed over. I think I almost gave my mom a heart attack when she found out that I was bartending.
Oh my goodness.
It was horrible. And my grandmother.
And now
they were like, oh my God.
You're making them amazing virgin drinks. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Yes. No, I look back at that. That was a season I'm not necessarily proud of.
Yeah.
However, it's, you take everything. And I think a lot of times too, I I know people are bad about it. I'm definitely bad about this. Like almost like hiding a part of who you are. And
Yeah.
that really is so silly because like everything that you go through and every your life is just building you and shaping you into the person that you're really meant to be.
Yeah.
So,
I love
I have been trying to be better about like
Mhm.
sharing my story and like
Mhm.
not hiding those like facts that, you may not be super proud of.
Yeah.
I do kind of laugh about that because it's like, I can't believe, first of all, I can't believe that me growing up in church, like youth leadership,
Oh my
like we were
goodness.
at church every time the doors were open. And so
That is
like having to
hilarious.
tell my mom, I think I did hide it from her
Oh,
for a little while too.
yeah.
Cause I was like, I can't tell my mom, but you know
That
what?
is
I
too
laugh about it
funny.
now. It
Yes.
gave,
And
it gave me
do they
great,
laugh about it? No.
no, my mom's
That's
just
too
like, yeah,
much.
that was the
Yes.
season,
Oh my
Mm.
goodness.
No, but you know
Ashley,
what?
that's
I think it
hilarious.
really helped with like my communication skills
Oh,
though.
for
Cause
sure.
also my patience.
Oh my gosh, that's
It
too
really
much.
helped. So it's like
Yeah.
you just take those things. What can I learn from that
Yeah.
season? Take
Yeah, for
those
sure.
into the next thing.
That is hilarious. Okay. So, what would you tell yourself as a new agent?
Oh, so many things. Wow. So as a new agent, like I said, joining a team was, I think, the most important thing.
Yeah.
The thing that I didn't know and didn't really have guidance on was what to spend money on
Ooh.
because you are thrown so much stuff in the beginning and you
Mm-hmm.
feel almost overwhelmed because you're like,
Yeah.
I spent all this money, I'm not making anything. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times people just jump in headfirst, which is great to do that full time and give that, but they don't have any income coming
Yeah.
in from other streams of income.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they're trying to like dump money here and like, oh, I'm gonna do these ads and these mailers and I'm gonna pay for all of these systems to be in place. And
Yeah.
and before you know it, you've burned through whatever money you had saved up as like a reserve, and it's like,
Oh my
what did it benefit you,
Mm-hmm.
And so I wish that I could go back because I was sending like mailers and letters and doing all this stuff. And I was a little bit more reserved just because I typically am with my finances.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I look back and I was like, why did I do that? Like, I spent so much money when I could have been doing other things. And so that is my advice is like,
I love that.
really like focus on your sphere 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I would have done that more. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, I'm like, you have all these people around you that know you, like you, and trust you, which is the
Mm-hmm.
most important
Yeah.
thing for someone to trust you with their most, expensive asset, important asset that they have. Need to know you, like you, and trust
Mm-hmm.
you. Well, your sphere does that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, even if it's your first house, family will be like, we'll give you a shot,
Yeah.
like if you screw it up, I hope you don't, but we're still going to love you because we're family.
Yeah.
And so
I guess is that what they're scared of? That they will screw it up with their
probably,
sphere?
yeah,
Or yeah.
maybe, I don't know. I think a lot of times you don't really think about it, but
Mm-hmm.
it can be like an underlying fear too of just,
Mm-hmm.
I need to get good first before I like branch out and like talk to my family and friends about it. But
Yeah.
that is free. It's free.
Mm-hmm.
Just having conversations and even
Wow.
talking to people, like be knowledgeable,
Mm-hmm.
absorb what you can, but like just have those conversations
Yeah.
and you'll be so shocked. Like my first listing did come from a friend.
Wow.
And then second listing was a friend of a friend that
Oh my
referred. And
goodness.
so
Yeah.
once I started getting that, I was like, why am I not doing this? This is so
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah.
And so I just started having those like intentional conversations and just asking,
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, do you know anyone that is looking to buy or sell or even lease,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so having those conversations
Wow.
are completely free.
That
So
is
I wish that I
amazing.
would have done that.
Yeah. I love that. Everything that you said was so powerful, but the money one, it hadn't come up yet in all the conversations
Yeah.
that I have had, and it totally in our business too. As we started, everything gets thrown at you. Like you see all these different avenues, especially marketing, where our marketing budget was like
Yes,
100%.
I know. That's what happens.
And then like people ask you to sponsor things, and then we're like, yeah, and now we're like, hold on, that
Yes.
and looking back, like that didn't have the return like I gave this much and it didn't return not even half of what I gave. So, and even getting the strategies to be
Right.
able to use like, okay, so I'm paying for this. Now I have to follow up in these ways. And
Yep.
so that's all key. I love that. I love that. How did you know what to spend on?
So I threw my money in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And then kind of like you mentioned, I was like, okay, well, I'm not getting anything from this. And this is very expensive, especially mailers in the beginning. Nothing against them necessarily, but there are ways when you first start
Yeah.
to not have to spend hundreds of dollars a month. And if you really are farming a market, you have to do that every single month.
Yeah.
And it's hundreds of dollars to do that. So if you're not going to do it right, don't do it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like,
Okay.
if you have that money up front, great. But if not, hold off.
Yeah.
The biggest thing was social media, because that's where everyone goes. Right. And so setting up those platforms like your Google business page and
Yeah.
Instagram and got TikTok not that long
Woo!
ago.
I see you. Actually, I
know.
see you.
I was like, I really don't want to jump on that train, but it's like, you have to,
Yeah.
right? Like, you have to stay relevant. So whatever is trending, I still post on Facebook was never like my favorite, but I post every single day on there, and I take that content and I push it over to Instagram. And so you can, source that where you're not spending a ton of time making content for every single platform. It's coming soon.
Yes.
We already had this conversation, but
Yes.
I need the accountability.
We are here for that.
Yes. So, but I think doing that definitely produced the most leads for me and that's completely free.
Exactly.
Right?
I was about to say the best thing is that it's almost free. Like,
it's your time.
you can start off doing it free, and then once you need more time, then you put money into it.
Right.
But in the beginning, whenever you have all the time,
It's like, let me give you a little tip. Canva, you create all your templates on there. They have a free version. You take those templates, you plug in, to AI, chat GPT. It's like, I have this picture, help me formulate blah, blah, blah. And this is the topic. And then wham, bam, within minutes, you have a whole post,
change your little colors on there easily.
I know.
It's branded
So
to
easy.
you. I love it. I know there's so many tools that are free that you can use to your benefit instead of pouring all your money into different places.
Yes.
Well, I love that tip. How can anybody reach you if they want to reach you?
So I would love for you to check out my website. It's ashleymarquezrealtor.com. Also, I would love for you guys to follow me on Instagram. It's Ashley Sells Galveston. It's super easy.
Yes.
And all the other platforms too. Everything is Ashley Sells Galveston. So Facebook
Beautiful.
and
Great.
TikTok and everything. So.
Okay, I love it. Thank you so much, Ashley, for being on the podcast. I know this was a huge benefit, like tip after tip and little blessings all over the place. So make sure you go back, re-listen to this with a journal and a pen, because this was awesome. These were awesome, good nuggets thrown out at us today. So thank you so much, Ashley, and see you on the next one.